Hi and welcome back to my channel. I am Koala and this is my little nook in the center of the universe that we call YouTube. I am a shamanic practitioner, mainly within Nordic shamanism, and I am here today to talk about Jormungand. And Jormungand is the great serpent that envelopes the world in the Nordic mythology or Norse mythology. And in this video I will start off by talking about what the sources say. And with the sources, I have 4 sources at home, which are in themselves also referring to other sources. So the first source I have is Shamanens Edda, Edda of the Shaman. This is a book by one of my favorite authors here in Sweden and favorite Nordic shamans. His name is Jörgen Eriksson, or Norrön, and this is his commentary book about the different chapters of the Edda. And then I also have 3 books from the library, and I will put their names in the description box. It's the same books that I had when I talked about Sleipnir, and it's the same books that I will have at home for a while to get information from them and insights from them on the different archetypes of this series and the different gods and goddesses that I will talk about later in the spring. I do talk about goddesses in another series, and I can link that up here. And I will talk about gods in a new series later this spring of 2026. So, I have 3 different sources here, and I have found that all of the information that these sources have on Jormungand there's a lot of pages in these books. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 pages of information. But it's the same information over and over again and the same references, because this serpent doesn't really, just as with the Sleipnir, where I had a really hard time to find in information about the individual horse, I have a hard time finding information about the individual serpent in this. The Jormungand is mentioned in regards to other individuals in the Nordic mythology, mainly Thor, because of their special relationship. So I will talk about the source information first, and I will interject a little bit now and again with my own thoughts and my own perspective before going into talking about this serpent's role in modern shamanism and in modern practice, and my relationship with Jormungand. And then I will talk about, can we summon this serpent in our practice, and should we, and when should we, and can we honor or celebrate this serpent, and for what, and how can we do that? Before I just thank you for being here, for watching and following me. So let's get into the source material, shall we? So I have found that this book has the best information all gathered in a couple of pages in a really good way. And bear with me, guys, as usual, I'm gonna have to translate a little bit while I'm reading, so you know, be aware that I'm using my own you know, verbal skills and my own words for this, so if anything feels like that doesn't sound quite right, it should be another word for it, probably. But I'm using Swedish sources and I'm translating them, so if, you know, any mistakes are my mistakes, just so you know. And yeah, and I'm sure that if you tell me in the chat afterwards, like, Koala, isn't this the word for this when you said that? And I would probably be like, yeah, it is. I just couldn't think of it when I sat there talking about it. So yeah, just give me some grace. That's all I'm asking. So here we are. The world was very big. Gods and humans were dependent on the world order being maintained. For this, the gods, strangely enough, had help by one giant creature. Far away out into the sea, into the ocean, a big serpent lay and enveloped the world. It lay around the world and bit itself in the tail. This was Jormungand, or the Swedish word is Midgårdsormen, which means the serpent of Midgård. This circle-shaped serpent is a mythological symbol that is known in many cultures, with one term gathered from the antique world. The serpent that bits itself in the tail is called Ouroboros. The serpent is a multifaceted symbol, a symbol for eternity and rebirth. In connection to death and burials, Ouroboros works as a symbol of resurrection. In Orphic cosmology, the serpent is enveloping the world egg, the egg of the world. I'm sure there's another name for it. In Buddhistic context, this serpent symbolizes samsara's wheel. This ancient Nordic sea monster has many meanings, just as anything else in this mythology. Jormungand is horrible, and at the same time it is of utmost importance to the maintenance of the world order. Jormungand is son to Loki and the giantess Angerboda. This serpent has two frightening siblings, Hel, the goddess of the death realm, and the Fenrir. And I'm not gonna talk about the Fenrir more in this video. I'm gonna talk about the Fenrir in a separate video. This amazing and horrible sea monster has one important cosmological function. Jormungand keeps the world together, maintains in one way all of cosmos. And then there's this myth about Thor, and there's a lot of myths and stories about Thor and his relationship with Jormungand. And all of them basically talks about Thor and Jormungand having this relationship of Thor always want to kill Jormungand. So there's the one specific story that is mentioned in this book and in both others, I think, that I have in front of me. And let's see. So this is a story about Thor going out fishing with a giant called Hymer. And this is a story that has been depicted on a lot of stones. It's been painted a lot. It's very popular in art, in old and new art. And the version that is in this book is based on the version in Snorri Sturlason's Edda. And there's different versions. There's different literary versions of this story. But in this particular story, Hymer and Thor has boarded Hymer's boat, and they're going out fishing. And Hymer doesn't know who Thor is. Thor has come to him in the shape of a young man, a young man that seems like inexperienced, and so Hymer doesn't really put much emphasis on his abilities as a fisherman or as a man at all. So Hymer wants to put the boat in a place where he usually fishes, and Thor wants to go further out because he wants to fish for the serpent, Jormungand. And Hymer allows him to take the boat out a bit further until he's like, this is enough, it's scary out here, it's dangerous because we are getting closer to Jormungand, and that's not safe. So before going on the boat, Hymer told Thor to choose what he wants to use as bait. It's like, you have to find your own bait. I won't provide that for you. So he basically slaughters one of Hymer's oxen and takes the head as bait. And so when they are in the lake, or out in the sea, he throws out his bait, and it goes straight to the bottom where Jormungand waits and he lives. And Jormungand goes for the bait, and when he feels the hook, catching him, he starts to twist and turn, and Thor pulls him up all the way to the boat. And this giant Hymer becomes fearful, and very, very fearful. And when Thor picks up his hammer to basically kill the serpent, Hymer brings out his knife and cuts the line so that the serpent goes back into the sea, and Thor is furious. So he throws the hammer, Mjolnir, at the snake in the sea, and with that hand, when he lets go, he slaps Hymer across the face. And with such a force, because Thor is very, very strong. He's like the god of strength. With this strength and this slap in the face, Hymer just falls overboard and into the lake. And the boat, I think, tips over, and Thor has to walk to land, and he is humiliated. He is outraged. He's outraged, and yeah, and this is a common ending to the stories with Thor and Jormungand, that Thor is humiliated. He acts very spontaneous, and he is very much like the god Tyr in a lot of instances, where he's like stupid and makes bad decisions, and he's easily fooled, and in some cases he's fooled by the serpent, but most often he's fooled by other characters in the stories that uses the serpent to lure or to cheat or to have a good laugh at Thor. So I'm gonna read on, because there's one thing I want to say here. It says like this in this book: Jormungand, or the serpent, can be viewed as one of multiple illustrations of the anxiety in everyday life that the ancient Nordic culture has dared to bring up and see through and take seriously. Everyday life is full of challenges, and it's a constant battle, and Thor and Jormungand are in a way symbols of this fight between the challenges that you have in life and how you deal with them, and it goes back and forth, and Thor eventually is the one to slay Jormungand. Sorry to spoil it for you, but that according to myth, that will happen in Ragnarök, and at the end of the world. So during the end of the world, there's a lot of fighting going on, and Thor gets to win over the serpent. But it's also there's also this thought that comes to my mind. Because this great serpent is the keeper of the world order, is the end of the world because he slays the serpent, or does he slay the serpent because the world is ending? What comes first? And I also want to talk a little bit about what the world is, because the world is different in these sources and in other sources. So the serpent is called Midgårdsormen, the serpent or the snake of Midgård. And this means that the serpent envelopes Midgård, right? So in the most sources, Midgård is the world of man, the world of humans, the world of people. And they suggest that the serpent keeps the world order in a way where it separates, or he separates people from everything outside of that. So all of the 9 worlds, for instance. So in my practice, I work with Mannheim and Midgård as the realm of the people, the ordinary reality, and and also behind the veils where like people that have died but not yet passed over resides, and different sides to us inside and out, because as within so without. And we could say that Jormungand envelopes this realm, and then all of the other 9 worlds are outside of it, and he keeps the order, and he keeps us humans from being influenced too much, because we can't really handle what is outside of our own realm. A lot of people can't. So, and that's, I think, an interesting concept. So there is this mentioning of the serpent and the snake in other traditions, in other mythologies, and we can say that the Jormungand has all of those abilities as well. It is a serpent. It has all of the energies and everything that is connected with serpent, like shedding the skin and being reborn, always being reborn. But there's also stories about what happens. What will happen when Jormungand finally eats his own self? What will happen to the world? And there's all these stories about Thor wanting to slay the serpent and ending the world, but he doesn't really understand that, or it doesn't affect him because it only ends the world of humans, right? So in the modern practice and the modern view of this, I see Jormungand as a keeper of world order and a very, very important force. And the fight between Thor and the Jormungand can be seen as this constant battle between the inner and outer cosmos, but also where are we in the story? Am I the serpent or am I Thor? And am I the one who constantly tries to end the world order, slay the serpent, or am I the serpent trying to keep my world order, trying to just share my medicine, share my gifts with the world, and have a good life? And then I'm constantly hit with this force that tries to disrupt this order that I'm trying to keep, and disrupt and give me challenges. And so is Thor the hero in the story, or is he the bringer of the end of the world? And what are our yours and mine relationship with that tale? What is our relationship with Midgårdsormen, as I say, Jormungand and Thor, and where how do we view this relationship? Because Thor is seen as this bringer of clarity and bringer of bringer of the world order in a way, because he is known for he likes to be viewed as, and people like to view him as someone that go after chaotic forces and bring them back in line, But if he's constantly chasing after Jormungand, he's actually the bringer of chaos in a way. So where do we see ourselves in this? How are we? Where are we? and how do we view all of this? So my relationship with Jormungand is the one that I view Jormungand as the keeper of world order and someone to celebrate and honor in keeping the world order, and a force to be in balance and harmony with. I think that's my relationship with this serpent, and I'm actually gonna invite you all to join me on my Patreon for March. I'm going to a part of the bonus content on my tier curious for March is going to be a ceremony where we dive a bit deeper into our own relationship with Jormungand and what is the world that the Jormungand envelopes? Is it the entire cosmos? Is it only the world of humans? What does it really mean to be Jormungand? What does it mean to have Jormungand as a keeper of your space, and that sort of thing? So I'm gonna invite you to that, and that is gonna be part of the bonus content on my tier curious, which is the lowest paying tier. So if you're curious about this, you know, no pun intended actually, it just came out that way. But if you're curious about this, then I suggest that you become a free member on my Patreon today, so that you can keep an eye out for my newsletter in March, the new moon in March, where I will put the date for this ceremony that will be live on Tier Curious. And then you can decide if you want to become a paying member to take part in that ceremony. And yeah, and then maybe you will want to stay. We'll see. So I hope to see you there. So, can we honor, can we celebrate, can we summon the serpent? I would say, when it comes to summon the serpent in ceremony, I would like to say that we really need to have a good relationship with the Jormungand to really do that in a good way, because we don't really know what forces is inside of this serpent. And what happens if we call upon it, and we really need to, as with any other archetype or force of the universe or god or goddess, we need to understand it, and we need to know what we are actually asking for, you know. It's like wanting Thor's protection, but then he comes with his hammer and he destroys something, and you're like, what? Why did he do that? Because he's Thor, you know. If you didn't ask him to keep the hammer in his belt, he probably won't. And, you know, what are the forces within Jormungand, and what forces do you want to summon and call upon, and why? So that part, I would say you need to think a little bit more about before you do. When it comes to honor and celebrate, we can absolutely do this. We can honor and celebrate Jormungand as the keeper of the world order. And, yeah, a wonderful time to start is the upcoming spring equinox, for example. But you can actually do it whenever you want to, because Jormungand isn't connected to a specific part of the year. It envelopes everything, you know. It's a circular force. So that is my 2 cents for now. And I look forward to seeing you in my next video, where I will talk about Defender. And in my last video I talked about Sleipnir. And yeah, after that I have Ratatosk left, which is the squirrel. So we have a lot to look forward to just in the coming weeks. And I will also talk a little bit more about, I think I will start talk about gods towards the end of March or something like that. So I hope to see you on my Patreon for the ceremony with Jormungand. And I also have a tier 4 ceremonies with the goddesses, and when I'm recording this it's only a few days left until our ceremony with Sleipnir. So there's a lot to discover if you want to support me over there. And walk in beauty. Walk in balance and the keeper of the world order. I will see you soon. Xingling.